Welcome back to this learning path, packaging your AWS Lambda functions as container images. In this session, you'll learn how to optimize the container images that you build for your AWS Lambda functions to make them deploy more quickly and to save on storage costs. You'll learn why you should always use the AWS-provided base images as long as you're not subject to other compliance requirements. You'll learn the benefits of using multi-stage builds. You'll learn the importance of building from most stable to most frequently changing elements in your container image. And finally, you'll learn the benefits of using a single repository if you have functions that share large layers. So why use the AWS-provided base images instead of other, smaller, third-party images? The first reason is that the AWS-provided base images are cached proactively by the Lambda worker instances. What this means is that each worker instance already has the base layer of the AWS-provided base images present in its cache so that your function doesn't need to copy it down. Not copying something is always faster than copying something, no matter how small it is. The AWS-provided base images are also stable. This means as the bottom layer of your image, they're not frequently changing. And as you'll see later, anytime you change a layer in your image, you must change every layer that comes after it as well. The AWS-provided base images are also built on top of Amazon Linux and Amazon Linux 2, which means that tools, utilities, libraries, and SDKs that your function may expect are already installed, saving you from an install step later. You should also use multi-stage builds when packaging your AWS Lambda functions as container images. On this slide, you see an example of a simple Docker file that uses multi-stage builds. First, it downloads the Golang 1.14 image to use as the build image for your runtime. It creates a binary, and then using the AWS Lambda Go base image, it copies the binary from the build image into your final function image. This allows you to use large, robust base images to build your functions, including numerous dependencies, copy your artifacts into the final image, and discard those intermediate images. This results in smaller final images, as well as a reduced attack surface, helping you secure your Lambda functions. You'll also want to add layers in the order of their stability. Add the most stable layers first. Recall, we discussed that you should use the AWS Lambda provided base images because they're less frequently changing. A change in any one layer means that all the layers that follow have to be rebuilt. So you should add your most stable elements first and your most frequently changing elements last. Now this varies from use case to use case. For example, if you have data, such as a machine learning model in your image that changes much more frequently than your code, you should add your code first and then add the model as close to last as you can. If, however, you have code that's changing regularly, you should add that code toward the end of your build process so that other layers don't have to be redeployed and repackaged every time there's a code change. You'll also want to consider using a single Amazon ECR repository if you have functions that share a lot of layers, especially large layers. Layers are deduplicated by ECR on push. So if you have a layer that's already been pushed in one image and you push it again, ECR just stores a pointer to that layer. This only happens within a single repository. If you have two repositories, you'll get two copies of that same layer. And with large layers, this adds up quickly. Note that this occurs whether your two repositories are different names in the same region or the same name in different regions. Two repositories, two copies of the same layer. So let's review these tips for optimizing your images. You learned the benefits of using AWS-provided base images. You learned why you should use multi-stage builds to allow you access to all the tools you need at build time, but only the minimum tools that you need at runtime. You learn to build from stable to most frequently changing in order to avoid unnecessary rebuilds. And you learned why you should use a single repository if you have images which share large layers. For additional resources, please follow the links shown on this slide. In the final session of this learning path, we'll go over some special considerations for deploying your functions on AWS Lambda as container images. I hope you found this session useful. As always, more information on this topic and everything serverless is available at serverlessland.com.